Start. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Jasmine, and I am the Y.E.S coordinator here at the North Suburban YMCA. It is my pleasure to welcome you to 10 Warning Signs of Alzheimer's by Samantha Hoffman and Mayor Grace Sharp from the Alzheimer's Association. Mayor Grace is program manager, and Samantha is volunteer community educator. Today, Samantha will be walking us through and distinguishing between warning signs of dementia versus typical normal signs of aging. Mary Grace will be here to take questions either at the end of each section or at the end of the entire presentation. We will be recording today's session to make it available as a podcast on our Y.E.S website, so if you are a Y member, you'll be able to reference it down the road as well. The YMCA Education Series programs typically last an hour. Samantha will take questions both during and at the end of the presentation. If everyone could mute themselves during the presentation so that background noise doesn't interfere with the presentation, you can then unmute yourself when she opens the forum for questions. The YMCA Education Series is free and open to the public, but as a nonprofit organization, we are always happy to receive donations from you. If you enjoyed today's program and would like to support adult programming at the North Suburban YMCA, please feel free to make a donation to our Y by going to our website. Again, thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to Samantha. Now, I will let Samantha kick off today's workshop, and please welcome Samantha.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. This, as Jasmine said, is the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. This program is designed for people who want to learn more about the warning signs of Alzheimer's and other dementias, and those who have noticed memory or thinking changes in themselves and others. Throughout the presentation, we'll see a number of videos that have taken place in various settings. Today, what we're going to discuss is the most common warning signs of Alzheimer's, so that you can be informed about what's normal aging and what's not. By the end of today's program, the goal is for you to be able to describe typical age-related memory, thinking, or behavior changes, to recognize common warning signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, discuss the tips for approaching someone about memory concerns, explain the importance of early detection and benefits of diagnosis, identify possible tests and assessments for the diagnostic process, and name the resources available through the Alzheimer's Association. Throughout today's presentation, we'll periodically check in with the Garcias. They are a fictitious family, and we'll follow along as Mary's daughters discuss their mother's memory challenges and take action to find the cause. Please note that the Garcia's experience might be common, but it doesn't necessarily represent the exact experience for everyone, as situations vary from person to person. This is Mary, she's 73 years old, a widow who lives alone. She's a retired teacher. She's always meticulously cared for her home. Her daughter has recently noticed laundry piling up and mail and newspapers scattered around the house. Lydia, on the left, is the eldest of Mary's two daughters. She lives a few miles away, and she visits her mother frequently. Patricia, on the right, lives in another state. She works long hours, and she's unable to visit her mother frequently. Communication with Mary and Lydia frequently are by phone or text. Lydia is concerned about their mother's noticeable lack of tidiness and that she's continuously losing things, so she reaches out to Patricia.
As we get older, cognitive problems become more noticeable for almost everybody, and it can vary from person to person. Typically with age, people have trouble coming up with the word they want right when they want it. They have trouble remembering names, and they don't think quite as quickly. What's more concerning, or what might be the beginning of a memory problem, is people have a lot of trouble coming up with words or names, and it's happening more frequently, and the words or names don't necessarily come to them later. and then they start misplacing things. But not just once in a while, because we all misplace things, but more often. And it begins to interfere day to day. That should be a warning sign for people that this might be the beginning of a memory problem.
We're here today to learn more about Alzheimer's and dementia and identify common warning signs of the disease. You may have heard the terms dementia and Alzheimer's used interchangeably. While they're related, there are significant differences between the two. So let's hear more about this from some dementia and association experts.
Dementia is the umbrella term for an individual's changes in memory, thinking, or reasoning. There are many possible causes of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common cause. Other causes of dementia are vascular dementia, which is marked by changes in the blood flow and the blood vessels in the brain. Dementia with Lewy bodies, identified by specific brain changes throughout the brain that include the buildup of a protein known as alpha-synuclein. And frontal temporal dementia, which is marked by brain cell loss in the front sections of the brain or the frontal lobe. Each type of dementia may have distinct characteristics to cause specific behaviors in the individual, but there is also some overlap in behaviors among the types of dementia.
More than 100 years ago, Dr. Alzheimer described specific changes in the brain, what we now call the formation of plaques and tangles. Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that's marked by these key changes and impacts memory, thinking, and behavior. The brain has three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Each one plays a role in how the body functions. Alzheimer's disease causes nerve cells to die, which leads to brain tissue loss and causes loss of function and communication between cells. These changes can cause the symptoms of Alzheimer's, such as memory loss, behavioral issues, problems with thinking, planning, and at the end stage, swallowing.
It's important to know what the warning signs of Alzheimer's are and to be on the lookout. We know that we change over time, and the warning signs of Alzheimer's can be warning signs of a number of things, but when you see those in yourself or in someone you care about, it's important to check it out, to consult with a doctor, to find out what you're dealing with. Some of the things that can look like Alzheimer's may be other treatable conditions. If it is Alzheimer's, you still want to know as early as possible, because that gives the person and the family time to plan, time to make decisions, and it also gives the person with the disease a voice and allows them to say what they want.
As we heard, it's important to know about the warning signs and to be on the lookout for these marked changes. The Alzheimer's Association, as a leader in this area, developed a list of 10 warning signs to help people understand the difference between normal aging and common signs of possible dementia. This list is intended to be a tool to help identify unusual changes in a person's memory, thinking, or behavior. It's important to note that this list does not constitute a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. These are simply the most common examples of changes experienced. Individuals may experience one or more of these signs in different degrees. Let's explore each sign and what some typical age-related changes may be. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. This is one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's, especially early on, is forgetting recently learned information. Others include forgetting important dates or events, repeatedly asking the same questions, and increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on some questions and increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on others for things or tasks once handled on their own. A typical age-related change is sometimes forgetting information, but not remembering later. Challenge number 2, challenges in planning or solving problems. Some people may experience new difficulties in executive functioning, including developing or following a plan or difficulty concentrating. Conversely, a more typical age-related change is making occasional errors while managing bills or household finances. Let's hear from John, who is living with dementia with Lewy bodies, about how he experienced this early warning sign.
I was probably spending 4 to 5 times more time preparing for something than I did, say, 5 or 10 years ago, because of I would lose my thought, I'd lose my focus, I'd get anxious, I wouldn't get to sleep. I was thinking this, I was in my sleep, I was thinking about what I was anxious about, which was I was trying to remember, which was I was trying to prepare, which I was trying to do. So it was really a vicious circle of, so I was able to control it a lot, so that people wouldn't see things, and there weren't things to be seen. It's what was disturbing me was what effort I had to put into to do the things I used to do more easily.
Another warning sign is difficulty completing familiar tasks. People living with dementia often find it hard to complete daily tasks that used to be managed with ease, such as driving to a familiar place, writing a grocery list, or remembering how to play a favorite game. Conversely, a typical age-related change would be occasionally needing help to use a microwave or remote. This could also include having trouble with new technology that the person hasn't had the opportunity to engage with as frequently. Let's hear a little more about this from a dementia care expert.
Some people have difficulty with math or with reading in a way that's unusual to them. And once again, this is a change in that person. So, for example, we all know somebody who was never able to balance their checkbook, right? So that wouldn't be a warning sign for them. But if somebody who always balanced their checkbook to the penny suddenly was paying bills, the same bill over and over, and not able to balance their finances, well, that would be a sign for them.
Another warning sign is confusion with time or place. An individual living with Alzheimer's or another dementia may lose track of dates, seasons, or the passage of time. They may have trouble understanding something if it's not currently happening, or become confused about where they are or how they got there. This can become more dramatic or profound in the middle and late stages. A more typical age-related change could be getting confused about what day it is or when a scheduled appointment is, but figuring it out later. Number 5, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Some individuals with Alzheimer's or another dementia may experience vision problems, which can lead to difficulty with balance, trouble reading, and problems judging distance and determining color and contrast, which can all impact driving or navigating the environment around them. Vision changes such as cataracts are a more typical age-related change. This sign shows us that these changes are not just about memory. It's important to think about all of the other ways that someone's daily life may be impacted by any of these changes. Our expert explains more. Let's take a look.
Alzheimer's disease is not just a disease of memory. It can affect other things too. It can affect the way that we perceive what we see. So sometimes somebody in the early stages of Alzheimer's might go to the eye doctor because they're having trouble seeing, and in fact their vision is just fine, but the way they're perceiving what they're seeing may be difficult.
Another sign is new problems with words and speaking or writing. Individuals may have trouble following or joining a conversation, stop in the middle of a conversation and forget what they were talking about, and continuously repeating themselves. They might also struggle with finding the right word or call things by the wrong name. They may start using more descriptive terms to talk about something rather than the name of the actual item. A normal age-related change, however, would be occasionally having trouble finding the right word. Let's hear from Phil, who's living with Alzheimer's, about this warning sign.
The other thing that I've increasingly been struggling with are words, which I've dealt with words my entire life, you know, as an avid reader, as a reporter, as a writer. I struggle with them now.
Number 7 is misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. This sign often causes concern in people. I want to clarify that this isn't just about losing your keys on occasion. Misplacing things from time to time, but retracing steps to find them is a normal age-related change. A person with Alzheimer's disease may lose things and not be able to recall when it was last seen or identify the location where it was placed, or he or she may put things in unusual places, such as putting shoes in the refrigerator. Because of the lack of executive function and awareness, the person may grow increasingly suspicious of others and start accusing them of stealing, and do so more often over time. Let's hear from Ruth Drew again to explain this sign further.
So some people wonder if, if they lose their keys or their glasses or their purse, is that a sign of Alzheimer's? And one thing that I would say about that is for most of us, we might misplace something, but then if we retrace our steps, we can usually find it. We can usually remember. For a person with Alzheimer's, sometimes they're not able to retrace their steps. Sometimes that memory is just gone. And so when they do find their keys next to the phone because they got interrupted by a phone call when they were coming in, they set their keys down in an unusual space. So there they are next to the phone. If that happened to you or me, we'd probably remember, oh yeah, the phone was ringing when I came in the door. I put down my keys. The person with Alzheimer's might not remember. They might wonder who's moving their keys around because they never put their keys by the phone. So that's just a little bit of a difference in some of the dynamics with losing things in Alzheimer's.
Another warning sign is decreased or poor judgment. Individuals may experience changes in judgment or decision making, such as using poor judgment when dealing with money or paying less attention to hygiene and grooming. This can be especially common in individuals who live alone. Making a bad decision once in a while, such as forgetting to get an oil change, is a more typical age-related change. Let's hear from Teresa.
The way I kept my house, and all of a sudden everything was okay with me. It's like, oh, it's a pile, I'm tired. So my dining room table usually looked like it was someone's office because I always would say I would do it tomorrow. And then my bedroom, as far as clothing, I would just put it in a corner, put it in a chair. And all of this is just, I wouldn't say it looked like I was a pet rat, but really I was, because I never threw anything away. I always would say, I'll get to it, but I never did get to it. So just the way of my standard of living, it was actually decreasing.
Another sign is withdrawal from work or social activities. As we age, it's normal to feel uninterested by family or social engagements at times. However, someone who's experiencing dementia-related changes may start to lose their ability to hold or follow a conversation, and as a result, begin withdrawing from social encounters or hobbies. They may lose the confidence to engage in that way. Let's hear from Dr. Salloway.
One of the most common changes, and early on, is the person's comfort zone shrinks a little bit, and then that gets worse throughout the course of the illness. So they're less comfortable going out, they're less motivated to do things than they were in the past. So there's some change in day-to-day functioning that way. I think people also lose confidence in their cognitive abilities because they may not recognize someone or know their name or find the right word, and they'll feel awkward. and they don't want people to notice that, so they feel more comfortable at home or in situations with family where they're very, very comfortable with that wouldn't concern them. So people tend to withdraw a little bit and be less outgoing. That's can be one of the early signs of Alzheimer's.
Number 10 of the warning signs is changes in mood and personality. Individuals with Alzheimer's or another dementia may become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. They might get easily upset either at home or when out of their comfort zone. As we age, however, it's normal to develop very specific ways of doing things and become upset or irritable when our routine is disrupted. Someone with Alzheimer's or dementia may become fearful, angry, or easily frustrated, which is something that should be addressed. Dr. Salloway will share more.
Another early sign of Alzheimer's or dementia is subtle changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, the family may notice the person is more easily irritated, or more impatient, or a little moody, or have a shorter fuse, or more anxious. Now, there's lots of things that can cause that, but often that can be an early symptom of Alzheimer's or go along with the early symptoms of memory loss.
Let's check in with the Garcias again. As we talked about earlier, Mary's daughters are concerned about the changes they're observing in their mom. They want to know when it's time to see a doctor about the changes they've witnessed. Let's take a look at their conversation.
Memory is not all or none, especially when there are early symptoms or signs. So on a good day, people might function very well and not really even, no one notices there's a memory problem. But on other days, especially if they're tired, then things become more noticeable. So memory is variable. It's not all or none. And then there are different type of symptoms that develop for each person. So some people may have trouble with language, may have trouble with organizing themselves, may have trouble navigating while driving, and other people don't have the same symptoms. So you don't have to have every symptom of Alzheimer's to be concerned. And I think the most important thing is determining what has changed from that person's normal level of functioning. And usually people have a pretty keen sense of, what they can normally do well. And then when either they or the family notice that there has been some change from that usual pattern of functioning, that should be a warning sign to people. But they don't have to check off all the boxes.
Our next topic is the importance of early detection. It's key that we pay attention to what's going on with our cognitive health and not dismiss any changes in ourselves or others around us as normal aging. Any change that's unusual for your level of functioning or that of someone around you is cause for concern. Many times, friends and family are the first to notice changes in someone's memory, behavior, or other abilities. In this module, we'll discuss why it's critical to address any observed changes early and seek answers from a medical professional. Sometimes the person exhibiting symptoms isn't aware or may not have the insight to know that they are experiencing changes, which is why having an outside perspective is critical. This is especially important for individuals who live alone or are far from family and friends. Let's listen as Dr. Salloway discusses this and then hear from a care partner who was the first to notice changes in her husband.
It's a very interesting phenomenon that people who have memory problems are often less aware of it than family members or their friends who know them well. One of the reasons for that is our ability to monitor ourselves, which is an important part of brain function, decreases when we start having memory problems. Not in everybody, but commonly, in more than half the people with memory problems. And so the person is just not keeping track of the trouble they're having day to day. But the family members are, paying attention. If they're paying attention, they see, boy, this is starting to happen a lot. and the person's not aware of it. So the family's more aware, and they may talk to their loved one about it, and they say, I've noticed you've been repeating yourself. And they say, I'm not repeating myself. And that could either be due to the fact that they're not aware of it, or they may not want to acknowledge it.
I was so adamant about what was happening to Daryl. I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And this wasn't the person that I know. This wasn't the person. Daryl was my husband was very, he always had to be building or designing or working with his hands. And it was getting to the point where he wasn't, and he was becoming very frustrated when he was forgetting to do things or go places.
If you continue to observe these changes, it's critical that you plan to take the next step and have a conversation with the person or others close to them about what you've noticed. This can be a difficult or uncomfortable conversation to have. The Alzheimer's Association has developed a roadmap of 10 helpful steps to help make addressing memory concerns less daunting and more productive. As you move through the roadmap, start by assessing the situation. What changes in memory, thinking, or behavior do you see? What is the person doing or not doing that's causing concern? What else is going on? Various conditions can cause changes in memory, thinking, and behavior. Are there other health or lifestyle issues that could be contributing to these changes, such as stress, diabetes, or change in medication? Learn about the signs and the benefits of early diagnosis. You've already taken the very important first step by joining us for this program to learn about these topics. Do you notice any of these signs in the person you're concerned about? Has anyone else noticed the changes you've observed? Talk with family and friends. What, if any, changes have they noticed? Next, prepare to have a conversation. Who should be the one to discuss concerns with the person? It could be you, a trusted family member or friend, or a combination. It's usually best to speak one-on-one so that the person doesn't feel threatened or ambushed, but use what you know about the person to judge what approach might work best. When and where should the conversation be held? It's important to have the conversation as soon as possible. In addition to identifying a date and time, you should also consider where the person will feel most comfortable. What will you or the person having the conversation say? You may want to build out somewhat of a script. Consider the following questions. I've noticed a change in you, and I'm concerned. Have you noticed this? Are you worried? How have you been feeling lately? You haven't seemed like yourself. I noticed you give an example, and it has worried me. Has anything else like this happened? Offer to go with the person to the doctor. Ask the person to see a doctor and offer to accompany them. Try using encouraging words such as, there are lots of things that could be causing this. Let's see if the doctor can help us figure out what's going on. The sooner we know what's causing these problems, the sooner we can address it. I think it would give us both peace of mind if we talk to a doctor. If needed, have multiple conversations. Don't be discouraged if the first one is not as successful as you'd hoped. Write down notes about how it went so that you can prepare for any future conversations. Don't dismiss the changes you're noticing simply because the person is reluctant to address them or the conversation didn't go as planned. Next, reach out for support. You can turn to the Alzheimer's Association. Call our free 24/7 helpline to ask with master's level clinicians who can provide reliable support and information, including about how to have this important conversation. And finally, see a doctor. Most people address concerns about memory, thinking, and behavior with their primary care physician first. However, in some cases, the primary care physician may refer the person to a specialist for further evaluation. Examples of specialists include geriatricians who have additional training in medical care for diseases and conditions common among older adults, generally over age 65. Neurologists who specialize in diseases of the brain and nervous system. It's important to note that not all neurologists specialize in Alzheimer's and other dementias. Neuropsychologists who can assess, diagnose, and treat psychological disorders associated with brain-based conditions. Psychiatrists who specialize in disorders that affect mood or the way the mind works. Psychologists with special training in testing memory and other mental functions. We now know what signs to look for and how to approach the conversation. Now let's talk about the benefits of early detection.
There are a number of benefits in early detection of Alzheimer's. For one thing, a person is able to have a voice in what happens next. They can make plans. They can live life more on their own terms. They can also make plans for the future, financial plans, care plans. They can let people know what they want, which can be a real gift later on. It also allows time for families to make plans and to make decisions about who can do what and figure out care and those kinds of issues. Some people are interested in clinical trials. Clinical trials allow people to have access to treatments that aren't available yet. And for some people, that can be a really important thing to pursue.
Now let's take a look at what may be involved in the medical process to determine the cause of symptoms. Let's start by, let's not. Here we're going to explore possible steps of the diagnostic process. Keep in mind as we review these steps, not everyone may be asked to undergo each one by their doctor. Assessments might include a medical history, a physical exam, screening for depression, interview with close companions. And tests may include laboratory tests, mental cognitive status tests, brain imaging, cerebrospinal fluid analysis. Mary's daughters are preparing for answers about their mom's changes in behavior. They wonder, do dementia-like symptoms always result in a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia?
Someone could have high blood pressure that's out of control, or they might have a thyroid condition that's not regulated, or diabetes that's not right, or on a medication that actually can cause memory loss. Drinking too much alcohol can make memory worse. So there are a lot of factors that go into cognitive difficulty with aging that some of them can be remedied. And so we want to do everything we can to improve cognitive ability and quality of life.
So in review, the diagnostic process will vary from person to person, depending on an individual's specific situation and what the doctor feels is the right course of action for that person. So if the diagnosis is Alzheimer's, what's next? Let's see what Mary's daughters, Lydia and Patricia, do. The Alzheimer's Association is in communities across the country, providing direct service to individuals and families facing the disease. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to try to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and other dementias. The association is available whenever and wherever you need reliable information and support. 3 of our key resources that can connect you to information and support include our free 24/7 helpline. Call 800-272-3900 anytime, day or night, to receive information and support. This provides access to highly trained and knowledgeable staff who can help with education, decision-making support, crisis assistance, and resource identification. We have master's level clinicians available around the clock to provide in-depth care consultations. It's a free of charge care navigation service offered to families at any stage of the disease. Help is available in more than 200 languages. Let's hear from Tim. He's a care partner who called the helpline for support.
I've had a couple of phone calls that I've been able to make in to the call center when I've had a couple of quick questions that I wanted to ask. You know, there's been a couple of nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have questions, you have anxieties, and I was struggling dealing with them, and it's amazing. It was one of the best things I ever did was keeping the call center on my favorites now. Just to know that there's somebody you can call who is aware of what you're going through.
Next is our website, alz.org. It's often the first stop for individuals following a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia. It has sections specifically for people living with the disease. We'll hear from, and also caregivers. We'll hear from Teresa, who is living with Alzheimer's, about what questions she had and the information she found on our site.
When I went to the Alzheimer's Association website, which is alz.org, there I was trying to find out more about what was Alzheimer's, what really is this disease, what is younger onset Alzheimer's, what is dementia, is there a cure, how long has this been around, how many people are affected by this, where can I go for resources, where can I go for help, what do I do with this? How can I handle this? Is there more people like me out there? Is there someone that I can talk to if I need to? And there I found the support line that's 24 hours a day. And there I found where I can go for workshops, where I can go and read things and postings that people have done, where I can find out what events is happening in the Alzheimer's Association, where I can see how it's affecting people around the globe.
And Alzheimer's Association and AARP Community Resource Finder. This is a wealth of community-based resources available in your area, including long-term care and community-based services, local association offices, and their offering of programs and support services. Visit alz.org/CRF. Tom, who's living with dementia with Lewy bodies, shares his experience seeking help from the association to find local resources.
Since I've been diagnosed with dementia, the one place that I know I can go to for assistance and help and support is to the Alzheimer's Association. There are people there that I know by name that I can contact if I'm having a difficult time or if I'm struggling to find some resource, that they will provide that to me.
Well, with that, thank you so much, Samantha, for your time and for providing that program. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to throw them in the chat or come off mute, and Samantha and I are here to answer them. Samantha, you may have done such a good job that there are no questions. But with that, again, if there are any questions that might come up in the future, feel free to call our helpline, our 24/7 helpline. They are really amazing and can get you those questions answered as soon as they can and provide resources to you that might be helpful. Again, the number is 800-272-3900. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Samantha.